So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the third and last day of the event, and also greetings to our online audience. A quick overview of how the day will fold. So we will start with the networking activity outcomes. Yesterday, you worked, I assume, also a bit on that aspect, and one or two people from each group will be presenting. Then we will have a short break, and then we will have our third keynote, followed by a panel discussion, and then we have the closing from the European Commission, and then we will say our goodbyes. But before that, because I already see too many of you taking pictures, let's all come on stage for a really nice group, big group picture. And maybe whoever wants can. The ones in the front. You have been delegated an important task. You will bear the eTwinning. Yes. Mhm. It's okay. There is some more room, so and even yeah, if you want, you can also yeah, exactly. Yay. Am I hiding anyone? No? Mathilde! Muy cool. Muy cool. That was that was the next question. Yay. Thank you. So we will upload the picture on yeah, the event website. So if you want, you can download it from there. And maybe now I can. Everybody settled? Great. So now I would like to invite my colleague Kira to take over for the project ideas presentation.
Great. All right. And also just very quickly for the online audience who weren't there during our networking activity on the first day. So we have all made a project planning template based on one of the themes in active citizenship. And today we will be presenting those, hopefully creating new eTwinning projects, and at the same time giving some inspiration to our audience back home who might also like to start their new eTwinning project. So, the first group, I need 2 presenters from the project Building Bridges Beyond Barriers. Who wants to come? 2 people. You can decide amongst yourself who will be it, but I need 2. Wonderful. Great. So, if you would just like to introduce yourself, we all know you, of course, but our online audience may not.
Thank you so much. First of all, hi everyone. I'm Seval Akbaba from Turkey and a teacher from Vocational and Technical Anatolian High School. And it's a great feeling to be here together with you, new people. So thank you very much for all your efforts. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Alessandra, I'm from Italy. I teach in a scientific high school in the north of Italy. And this event really inspired me. So thank you very much for all the coordinators and the speakers of the workshop and all the teachers that I have met in these days. Thank you.
Just a second, please. So sorry for waiting. Right. We will see the whole draft here, but I think you cannot. It's not the beginning of our project draft, but I want to start. First of all, I want to start with my partners in Turkey, Germany, Italy, and Denmark. So age of the learners between 14 and 17. Duration 5 or 6 months. School level, secondary, and maybe upper a little. And subjects, English as main language and all the other subject, communication skills, technology, and you know the other ones. And maybe I can read this short description and you can go on with the objectives then. So with this project, we aim to promote social and educational inclusion by fostering awareness, accessibility, and equal opportunities for all individuals, regardless of their background, abilities, or identity. Through workshops, community events, and interactive learning sessions, the initiative encourages empathy, going beyond diversity, active listening, and collaboration. The project also supports inclusive policies in schools and workplaces, ensuring that everyone has a voice and a space to thrive. By working with educators, employers, and local organizations, these projects create a more welcoming and equitable society for all of them. Thank you so much, and maybe you can go on with objectives.
Okay, objectives. Empower an European identity, foster empathy skills, consider different perspectives, challenge stereotypes, create a safe spaces where individuals feel available, feel valuable and included. The ICT tools, of course, tablets, laptops, smartphone, several apps, Padlet, Canva, Genially, Nemify, PowerPoint, videomaking programs, TwinSpace, and for the surveys, Mentimeter. Then, the activities. First of all, in October, a kick-off meeting on TwinSpace in order to schedule the project, maximum number of students per nation. Special needs students will be involved, and students with social and economic disadvantages, and activities planning. October, the logo contest for students. November, students present a research about one of the other countries, one presentation per country, focusing on breaking stereotypes. They communicate and ask for information to the other students of the countries they are researching, and there will be some meeting on Twin Space. December the 10th, we are going to celebrate the World Human Rights Day, drawing by hand or designing a poster. So students will be asked to design a poster by choosing a specific right, and they have to do a research about the right they have chosen. January, students create a video, so a reportage video aimed to explain what they drew on the poster and post it on Twin Space. And of course, the video is based on the right they have chosen, and this video will be posted on Twin Space and on the school website. February the 10th, because in 2025 Safe Internet Day is on February the 10th, teachers invite an expert to lead a webinar for students and parents in order to debate about the risks in using the internet and to contrast cyberbullying. Students in the second part of the webinar take action and they create their own netiquette. In March, a delegation of students meets the municipality and the youth council, showing them their own etiquette and ask their representative in the local government to help them to spread the etiquette among teenagers of their local communities.
Thanks for listening. And also we decided to apply for this project.
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks for giving a chance to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That is great news. Thank you. Wonderful. Well, I'm sure we all can't wait to see what happens and the outcomes of this project. Next up, Instagreen, Influencers of Tomorrow. Who wants to come? Of course, not all at once. It's going to be very busy on the stage. Great. I see 2 people coming up. I have 2 microphones, so... All right. There you go. Got a project here.
Yes, here. Yeah, I can start. Yeah, so good morning. Our project would be entitled Instagreen Influencers of Tomorrow. The partners would be Lithuania, Finland, Spain and France. And we thought of involving students aged 12 and 13. The duration would be about 1 school year, so from October to May, something like that. And so students, primary and secondary school. The school subject addressed would be English, citizenship, science and social science. The objectives of the project would be increasing the awareness regarding sustainability at local and global levels, to develop a stronger European cooperation, to develop the responsibility of every student and European acting for a green future. And of course, to obtain measurable results of input implemented in school and community, to develop teamwork and digital skills. We try to list a few ICT tools that we would be using throughout the project. So that would be the Twin Space, of course, the making of videos, so video programs, video editing, We would ask students to kind of create an Insta new app, okay, just to reflect the title of the project, which is Instagreen for Instagram, of course. We would use Canva, footprint to calculate the carbon footprint website, and Google Forms, Excel, etc. You want to?
So the first step of the project would be to for the pupils to create like an eco passport, just to introduce themselves and as an icebreaker. We would also organize a logo competition for the new social media that they're going to create. After that, we want them to introduce their countries as well, using short videos and actually showing what they're doing regarding sustainable development and challenges that they have to face in their countries as well. After that, what was the next thing? The survey. After that, we want them to go and ask questions to the school community, that is to say teachers or other pupils, about their habits regarding climate change and the things they're doing to try to save energy, for example. And they will have to draw a conclusion of that survey, and we wanted to organize also an online survey so that they can choose 3 things that they want to tackle and that they want to improve in their schools. And the thing is, we want them, like maybe 3 months after, we want to organize like an eco something week. We haven't decided yet. And during that week, they will show and measure the things that they have implemented in their schools. And in the end, we would like them to create like an eco guide, the European eco guide of things that they could do. And I think, but yeah, basically, just for now, that's it.
Just for now.
Wonderful, thank you so much. And I really liked how you are going to include the community. Lovely. Up next, we have Bridging Cultures, Different Colors, One World. Who may I give the floor to? Wonderful. Here you go.
All right. Hi, everyone. So our project is called Bridging Cultures, Different Colors, One World, as you can read. The countries involved: Hungary, Czechia, Moldova, Netherlands. The main aspect of our project is inclusivity. The students that are going to take part in this project are lower secondary school students of the age 14 to 17, and we aim at the length of 6 months of a project, so encompassing most of the school year. Subjects that we plan to include in our project are ICT, arts, foreign languages, history, music, physical education as well, and civic studies. So to give you a short description, we plan to dedicate each month to a different activity which bridges cultures. And we want to focus on underrepresented minorities in each of the class group. The proceedings. Each month we would focus on another aspect of respective cultural heritages in a sustainable manner. Each month one activity would be implemented as a separate activity. Our students should focus on culture that is not that, let's say, prominent in their environment at school in order to learn more about that culture. And by doing so, by implementing various activities, our aim is to encourage our students to overcome potential barriers, battle the stereotypes as well, and broaden their horizons, cultural horizons. The ideal outcome would be accepting different views, religion and culture, learning about those, and having fun while doing so.
Okay, and as for the different activities, the main idea is that we would use the digital tools in a pedagogical way. So they are basically just tools. We should always consider what pedagogical aim we are trying to focus on. As an introduction, students could represent, for example, typical national stereotypes using even generative AI. And then each month we focus on a different aspect of cultural heritage. One would be cuisine, like presenting typical dishes, guessing the ingredients, or what is the story behind the dish, for example, if it's named after a famous person in their culture, who that person is. Next is music. We could also use AI, Suno or something like that, to create national typical music using typical instruments. And as for arts, we would take part in the Code Week for All challenge, and students could create and recreate famous paintings from their culture in pixel art style, for example. And as for physical education, we were thinking about sharing typical children games, you know, these outside, offline, unplugged games, and they could play and test these games even during the PE lessons. Also about folklore, sharing some typical folkloric elements, even involving digital storytelling. And we would close the whole project with national holidays and celebrations, but sharing a holiday that is typical in their nation, but not typical in others. So we would leave out the traditional holidays like Christmas and Easter and focus on things that, for example, perhaps name names are not celebrated everywhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. What a lovely take on these days. Really nice to see. Up next, we have the Truth Feed. Perfect.
I have to check if it works. Are you okay? Oh, good. Can you please stand up? Yeah, just. Okay. Now I would like you to breathe in, and when you breathe out, just say the sound O. Now, let's do it together. Take a deep breath, and now I would like you to imagine that you're very happy. But this time, I would like you to breathe out the sound ah. Okay, just take a deep breath. Now I feel much better. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Now, a question for you. Thank you. Have you ever eaten a hamburger from McDonald's? Yes or no? Show me a hand. Thank you. Have you ever wondered how many proteins a hamburger contains? What about fat? How much fat? Let's have a guess. Between 25, one hand if you think there is 25%, and two hands if you think it's 55%. Wow, mostly right. Thank you, because now it comes with the metaphor behind our title, the Truth Feed. Because feed, it is connected with the feet that we have on our social media, but also to nourish ourselves. And also feed is to give something that's essential to hydrate, to nourish. And when it comes to proper feed, like the hamburger, we eat, it looks tasty, it looks good, but does it contain the nutrition value that we need? So that's why we are consumers every day. We consume digital junk food. It's appealing, but does it contain the value and the truth? And this is the concept behind our project, to make students aware of what they take in. So our objectives are, and we can do that by developing their critical thinking, identify and analyze media messages, equip students with tools and strategies to deconstruct fake news, foster media literacy skills, raise awareness of disinformation and misinformation, promote digital citizenship among young people in their communities. And we are going to do so. I'll invite my colleague.
Through a series of activities. The Truth Feed is an exciting and timely project that brings together students from 7 different countries: Luxembourg, Ukraine, Ireland, Romania, Slovakia, and Finland. It is a year-long initiative that blends ICT, languages, civics, and social studies. So what's it all about? Each month, a group of students from different countries fact-checks one international news story and analyzes how it is covered by different national media in order to spot biases, identify misleading headings, and much more. To meet the goals that were already mentioned by my colleague, students take part in a series of activities. They begin with a survey of their own media literacy self-perception. Next, they join workshops and webinars on social media creation, journalism, and media literacy, working in groups across countries. Then they dive into hands-on fact-checking tasks. Their discoveries are then turned into social media posts, which are published on Instagram and TikTok for their peers to follow, for their peers from all over the world. It will be a great way to communicate with other teenagers in a language that they all understand, the language of social media. Eventually, our participants become the ambassadors of truth, sharing their findings not just online, but also in their school communities or maybe even their local communities outside of school. And finally, they return to the initial survey and reflect on how far they've come. We use a wide range of tools, from Canva to CapCut, from Microsoft Office to AI. In short, the Truth Feed is not just about spotting fake news. It's about empowering a generation to shape a more truthful and fair future for all of us. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I think we've all seen in the keynotes and several workshops that this topic is very important in this day and age. Next up, I want 2 participants from the project of CARE.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anita. I'm a mathematics teacher from a lower secondary school in Croatia, and my colleague.
I'm from Italy, Puglia in particular, and I teach English in a vocational school, hospitality school, even if we have many other courses there.
Okay, so the title of our project is CARE. When you see a title, I always believe it should kind of grab your attention, and there have been lots of really good titles with project, but ours reflects something that's deeply rooted inside of everyone, and empathy and volunteering, which is what the project is all about, but it's an acronym for civic action for resilient engagement. So it's a very powerful message behind a very simple project title, I think. The partners are from a variety of countries. We were quite ambitious, but also very lucky in our group to have lots of partners from very different backgrounds and countries, which is only a positive when you're doing an eTwinning project. So from Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Norway, Romania, Bulgaria, Italy, and 2 teachers from Croatia. So the age of the learners is 12 to 16-year-olds. The duration, we initially put 6 months, but this is something that requires a little bit more time. Subjects, of course, English as a foreign language, but then we would try to include each of the subjects that we as teachers teach, so that we can include it in our curriculum. But I would emphasize the social studies subjects as a very important aspect of the project. So while discussing volunteering amongst each others, we found that there are very different perspectives on how feasible it is to apply volunteering in community, but also how important it is. Yeah. So in Italy and Croatia, we found that we do actually do a lot of volunteering. In some of our partner countries, not so much. So the objectives would be to increase civic involvement through engagement and, of course, education, gaining awareness of our community needs and trying to find what binds us together as a community, and how we can help each other, because we all have very different views and very different experiences. When you volunteer, I really believe that not only are you helping others, but it gives you a sense of well-being, and it's good for your mental health to feel appreciated, to feel as if you're doing something, to actually make a difference. And that's the importance of projects like these, where students really feel as if they are being heard, they are visibly doing something, learning by doing, and someone is benefiting from their ideas and from their work. So we would emphasize the mental health positivity among our students, include new extracurricular activities in school, and we were hoping that this would be a good foundation for an Erasmus project. With regards to ICT tools, I think everyone has mentioned some of the tools that we also have, the usual evaluation tools, which we would use at the beginning of the project to see what experience we have that are similar and which ones are different at the same time, so how we can help each other. So we would do initial community research and evaluation of the needs of our local communities, and then we would form a project youth council. This is something that we thought would be a really good idea to get the children working in transnational groups coming together with their own ideas and suggestions, how we can help each other. So there are quite a few activities that we wanted to do, whether it's volunteering in nurseries or old people's homes, or involving our special needs students, but it's basically connected to our local communities and how we can help each other with the application of our ideas. And it's important to involve local community leaders, stakeholders, parents, as many people as we possibly can to make a project sustainable. So even though International Volunteering Day, I think, is at the end of the year, which is December, this is something that we don't want to stop with the end of the project. We want to make it a living, breathing entity within our school and our curriculum. Do you want to say?
Yeah, no, I just want to focus the attention on the starting point. The inspiration of the project was, as my colleague were saying at the very beginning of the presentation, that was the chance you gave us to share ideas about, in particular, the topic of engaging children, students in the community, so in social activities. So the chance to share ideas and find differences in the way in which we as school, we as teachers try to involve them, to inspire them in this engagement. Social engagement was essential, was pivotal. So it was the sharing of ideas that gave us the inspiration. Thank you.
So I won't go into each activity that we've planned for every month, but I just wanted to emphasize that the final activity or the final product would be a form of digital toolbox where anyone from any of our partner schools could kind of dip into and take away something that they could apply within their own community. And it would, again, be a living toolbox, always open for us to add more information or videos or interviews, things that worked or maybe didn't work so well within our local communities, but a learning tool at the end of the day. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I really enjoyed how you initially spoke about how volunteering is in each of your countries. Because indeed, in all of us, for all of us, it's not usual or in the same degree that we can do volunteering in our classroom. Very nice. Then, I also have a few groups who didn't send their template in on time for me to portray it here. But if possible, I would like 2 people from the project of Reframing News up on the stage. No worries. Here you go.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Eftihia. I'm from Cyprus. And in a typical Cypriot manner, we were late to send in our project. So, talking about cultures, this is part of my culture. I dragged everyone with me, but it was a typically Cypriot thing, and I apologize to everyone for it. I hope we can make up for it with our presentation, which comes really close to the one that the colleagues from Luxembourg, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the country, the Truth Feed started. I think we're picking up where you left, or I think we have the same starting point, but in a diverse manner, we take the same starting point and we take it to a different direction. So again, we would try and use media and perceptions and how youth is portrayed in media, social media, but mostly mainstream media, so we can look into what the youth is doing and where they're going. We decided to call our project Reframing News because inevitably what happens in a society with the youngsters makes the news. So what we do with that piece of information is critical to where the youth is headed next. So if they start believing of themselves that they have bad behaviors, or they have no future, or they have no say, or it was they had it coming, or whatever, that's where they'll be headed when they grow up as grown-ups, and that's where they lead their children, and so on and so forth. So we would like to teach them to be engaged with news, be engaged with what really matters to them, and have a say in what and how it's been portrayed. So that would include them developing critical thinking skills and acting upon skills, not letting things slide. This project that we're putting forth includes 7 different countries. The countries that colleagues in my group were Cyprus, Romania, Sweden, Bulgaria, Poland, Austria, and Germany. And it goes for upper secondary schools, that's 15 to 18-year-olds. We were thinking of implementing this project for about 6 months, starting October and finishing in March. And our goal would be to help children, the youth, the students identify, understand, and reframe the image of the youth as it's being portrayed in the media. Now, as far as how that's going to happen, I think I'm going to turn it over to my colleague and put down the actions.
Okay, hello, my name is Magda. I'm from Poland, and I'm going to tell you about the activities that we planned in this project. So we're going to start with interviewing parents and grandparents about how they see young people. We're also going to invite some professional journalists to help us to help our students understand how it works in journalism, how they write news, how they choose pieces of news, and how they picture the things they want to share. And after that, the students are going to do some research. They're going to search for articles, pieces of news in media that depict young people these days. They're going to translate them into English because these are going to be local news from our countries. Then between the schools and countries, they will exchange the pieces of news that they found. Then in the other countries and the other schools, they're going to analyze them. We're going to use Padlet to exchange our ideas and the things that they spotted or were surprising. Finally, they will be able to choose the way they want to reframe the news. So they will be able to show their version of how they see this kind of piece of news. They will be able to record a podcast or a short TV show or write an article for the newspaper. And the final outcome of the project would be kind of real TV show where all the countries will be involved, and we're going to interview different people in a way that questions could come from one country and the answers could come from another country, and we'll put it together and make it like a real TV show.
So essentially the children, the students will become investigative journalists for half a year. They would have to go out, find the data, analyze the data, see what they can do with it, go to webinars and seminars and whatever they need to learn how to edit the news and create an actual news bite. And then on that, they'll have an online show with all the countries. They will share in different parts of the show what they found, how they found it, how they're going to use the data, and then the pieces of news that they had chosen to work on, they're going to represent them again, reframing them in the manner that they feel would have been the right way to do so. And that's about it.
Thank you very much.
All right, and if I'm not mistaken, all groups have now presented, correct? If I am missing one group, please raise your hand. No? Wonderful. One of our online participants mentioned that they are including civic engagement in their classes already, just during regular class hours. And that made me think, because currently civic engagement is not something that has a core curriculum in any of our schools, really. So I was wondering, how do you include this in your lessons, in your classes? Are there games that you play? Are there strategies you implement? Yeah, how do you all do this? If you could raise your hand, then my colleague Nikos can come to you with a microphone. Are there reflective questions you ask them? Any of these things? Do you do debates with them during English class, for example, or?
Yes, thank you for your suggestions. Of course, as an English teacher, we always use debates in our classroom to debate on different matters that are current in our country, and we are trying to find solutions. And after many of the activities that we do, I ask my students, like, did you enjoy this activity? Did you find something hard, or it was too easy for you. Do you want something else? Do you have another topic that we want to discuss? And this is how I give them a chance to express their view or dive into a theme or idea that they have in their mind.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there other contributions? Yes.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to mention a project that I talked about yesterday as well at one of our workshops. During one of our so-called digital thematic weeks that happens every year in Hungary, we, for example, created a project based on the gamification principles. Basically, students were thinking that they were just playing in SimCity, but they created their very own cities and elected a mayor and had to come up with transportation and any other regulations. And basically all the cities were based in the same region, so they even had to communicate and even do some commercial things with each other. And for example, we had a round table for the mayors and they had to discuss the affairs of the region. So, you know, it was introduced as a game, but basically it was a serious game, and we had a lot of fun with it because the whole atmosphere of gamification was very familiar to them. So perhaps this topic was easier to process in this way. Thank you.
Wonderful. No, very interesting way. Are there other ways that you are currently already introducing citizenship in any of your classes? No? Well, then I think all of these workshops were very, very relatable to all of us because we all learned a lot of strategies that we might be able to implement. What I was wondering, a lot of the projects presented here today by you have some sensitive topics in them, such as critical digital literacy and discussing each other's cultures. I was wondering, what sort of obstacles do you think you might encourage when going ahead with these projects? Did you have any discussions on this, or do you already anticipate any obstacles? How about we take a few minutes, around 3 minutes, in your groups to discuss what possible obstacles you might come with and how you either want to prevent them or overcome them. I'll give you a few minutes and then we will be back with you. All right. I could see you were all discussing very quickly. That's very nice to see. What are some of the things that you discussed amongst each other? Some obstacles, some ways to overcome it, or something completely different yet related, of course. Just raise your hand and then Nikos will come find you.
So we had a very lively discussion of all the obstacles. And if we're moving from the logistics of organizing a project, then we could talk about the sensitive topics that you've mentioned that are especially relevant for our project about media literacy, fact-checking, and biases. So I think to sum up our discussion, I could say that it is inevitable. Talking about difficult matters and expressing contradicting opinions is part of citizenship education. We cannot just skip that. But what we can do as educators is to teach our students express their opinions, whatever they are, without hurting others, either physically or verbally. It is difficult. And we as adults do not always know how to do that. We struggle with finding the correct words, with being respectful, yet direct and honest and faithful to our values. But we should do our best, of course, keeping in mind our school policies regarding, let's say, bullying or LGBT or whatever policies we have in place, and keeping in mind our school management's position on this, the parents' position on this, especially if we're talking about minors. This could be difficult, but it's just something that we cannot avoid. And as a society, we should be open about this. We should be ready to have an open conversation about this. My colleagues mentioned very effective strategies that could be used. For example, asking your students to express their opinion in writing anonymously, and then moderating it a bit, because I don't think we could just read everything that was written. But I think it's one of very good ways to deal with that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, very good strategies as well. Really nice points. Over there, yes.
Something we were discussing a lot in our group, working on news and basically something like the truth feed, is e-security and data security. So if we want our students to create a sort of TV show presenting the news they found, we think we can do that sort of within the group only in the twin space. But I found in the workshops, one of the project partners used AI avatars to present the student opinions and outcomes. So AI voices and basically video of people talking about it. That is something that could be published online without worrying about data security from mostly minors, which are our students.
Wonderful, yeah. Really nice, especially since we are having to be mindful and very critical about how we're using AI in our teaching and learning. But this is a really great way to kind of make sure that we protect our students and yet still give them the opportunity to share to a wider network. Very, very nice. Any other things that you would like to share? Yes.
We were discussing on a practical level what could be the difficulties while using different ICT tools, and some of them can be new or unknown for most of the participants, and this can create difficulties in creating common products or working together. And the solutions that we discussed with my colleague here is that we can empower our students who already have used this application or a program to be the teachers and to like train their peers in using this instrument, and this can make them more engaged in the project, and they can develop, of course, their digital skills.
Wonderful, really nice. Also, a really great way to give the students autonomy. Wonderful, yes.
Hello, everybody. I will also share with you good practices related with our project work, because my school, I am a principal of a school, and my school is accredited under Erasmus, and for many years we are also eTwinning school. In our work, we strive to involve teachers of different subjects, because that is very nice, about collaboration between them, and to develop multidisciplinary approach in learning. That is one of innovation, because my school is also on national level innovation school. And one of our innovation is related to develop multidisciplinary approach in learning. Also, we implemented problem-based learning in different subjects, and that is very good. That is very good way to put students in different roles. Some of them are leaders in the development of tasks. Some of them are digital creator, or creator of content of the task that they must decide. Some of them are presenters, and when we put students in the center of the educational process, and also in different roles, that is a way in which they can orientate them in a professional direction, what can be in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Very valuable. And also some insights from the online audience. They are big on discussing social issues and sharing their ideas respectfully in a classroom situation. And also in the classroom to instigate debates on human and women rights equity, to foster empathy and understanding and awareness amongst each other and their students. So thank you all so much for your insights today, for sharing your projects with us. I, for one, am very excited to see them all show up on the Twin Space. And I'm looking forward to seeing the outcomes of this. Because you wanted to share some...
Yeah.
Yes.
Have it? Yeah. No, based on what I was listening, I think it's also really important and not forget to explore the concepts. So starting, for instance, of how students and pupils perceive what is a citizen or what is citizenship. Because yesterday, for instance, in Julia's workshop, if I'm not mistaken, she showed a really nice graph she was presenting about environmental citizenship. And there was a really nice graph with the local, the national, and then the international context. So, for instance, within the local context, it's nice also to use real-life experiences that they have in their everyday life, involving, we heard, parents, grandparents, I think it was one of the teams, which I find really interesting. And then you go to the national one, and there perhaps you have the room to play also and connect with your own national curriculum, which is also an important aspect for the eTwinning projects. And then you move to this international context within the context of eTwinning projects. And there you see, okay, each one has their own national and cultural identity, but then the idea is what takes us a step further and makes us European citizens. And I think this way they can connect all the dots from the local to the national and then the international and European one. And another question from my side, if I may, because we've heard about outputs, collaboration, you've been talking quite a bit about this. How do you ensure that there is true collaboration between your students? Because sometimes we see lots of parallel work, which is, let's say, a basic form of collaboration, especially within your class. But how do you truly collaborate with other countries, with other pupils? How do you ensure this approach?
Yes, the most common practice in eTwinning project is using international teams. So we have a teacher from a country that works with a group of students that are each from different school, a partner school, and that's what ensures the collaboration that we have. So in each of these smaller teams, they have different roles, as my colleague said, and they work together to achieve a common goal or produce a common product.
Mm-hmm.
And are there strategies that you implement to make sure that they are truly collaborating together and not doing short tasks? One does this, one does that, and we leave it at that. Have you found anything that works really well?
What works really well, I'm not an expert, so I cannot guarantee, of course, but usually mentoring them, like the teacher who is involved with this group, really like working with them, having these meetings that they discuss together what is the desired outcome, and even like supervising what's happening and giving the deadlines and pushing them a little bit to achieve the common goal.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful, thank you. And also from the online audience, someone shared that to ensure collaboration, they try to create guidelines, not just for respectful discussions, but also to focus on ideas. And especially in working with some sensitive topics, they found this very effective because it keeps this focus on ideas and it steers away from personal attacks or students making it too personal, and it allows them to pass on their sharing even if they are uncomfortable.
And if I may, since we have 5 minutes more, usually, especially when we are talking about identities and we have the national identity, the cultural identity, and so on and so forth, and we are talking also about European identity. Some teachers, some students, some parents, they tend to think or react in a way that, okay, the European identity is replacing or is trying to weaken the national identity. Have you experienced such issues? I'm really famous for my easy questions. Yeah.
I was referring to your former question because you mentioned about cooperation as a cornerstone of any project, and as another word, another key term is agency. As long as you make aware your students, this is your project, you have to make it work, it goes by itself. Platform permitting, I mean, not weather permitting, but platform permitting. If everything works, the project goes smoothly, no problem. As long as the students have all necessary tools and instruments and utilities and apps and platform permitting, you know. And regarding ethnicities and the issues of citizenship, I mean, if you have a group of diverse backgrounds, I teach young adults coming from the other side of the ocean, South America, also from Northern Africa, so many different ethnicities, and it's difficult to embrace this complexity of races, cultures, backgrounds, religions, faiths, all that. But that's a point of eTwinning, yes, joining all this together, not a melting pot, but a salad bowl.
Mosaic.
A salad bowl, everything, and making it work. That's the key in our case, yes, embracing the whole, superseding all these ethnicities and all these layers of cultures and backgrounds.
No, I think really important aspect about ownership and agency. And we've seen also quite many examples of teachers who are involving students since the beginning. So there is, let's say, the project structure, the theme, but then students themselves, they participate on what activities will be implemented, what tools will be used. I think, again, it was mentioned by some of you that you use, let's say, more experienced students to teach non-experienced students on the XYZ tools, which I think also is important. Okay, I'm done.
Exactly. Thank you, Nikos. And thank you all for your contribution in this and to share your strategies and your thoughts on this. So now we can all use a well-deserved break. I think there is coffee outside and some snacks. And to our online audience, we will be back in half an hour with you for our keynote. Thank you.
events website, we have the presentations, we have the templates of the projects that you have created during the days and were presented today. And also you can find the list of the participants. So feel free afterwards to look your profiles on the European School Education platform and connect. So that's the first aspect. And the second one is, I don't know if you have seen already, we have the prize winners, so the European prizes of 2025. So feel free also to check on the European School Education platform. There is a news item with the winners and the runner-ups for the 5 categories. And you will see that lots of the topics echo themes that were discussed also in this event for citizenship, sustainability, about history, AI, Internet of Things. So feel free to visit the website. So now we will move to our keynote. We have Tuija, and Tuija will present her experience from a Jean Monnet project, focusing on the European Union, the values, the institutions, how institutions work, actually. And Tuija, would you like? Yes.
All right, is this on yet?
Yeah.
Yes, it is on. Excellent. Just take my couple of notes here. All right. So, good morning, everyone. I'm honored to be here to talk about our project, our Europe, and I hope you've enjoyed Helsinki. This is my hometown, so I'm keen on hearing that if you enjoyed your visit with us. My school is Sotunki Upper Secondary School. It's actually located right next to Helsinki in Vantaa, in eastern Vantaa. We have about 500 students, and it's a sports-oriented school. We have Erasmus Plus accreditation, and we are also European Parliament Ambassador School, and international activities are very close to our heart, and we emphasize that. But we are also a sports-oriented school, so we combine these two emphases. All right, and then this is what I'm talking about. We have a 3-year project with Jean Monnet initiative, AU initiative. And if you are not so familiar with the Jean Monnet, maybe Erasmus and eTwinning are more familiar to you. This is for schools in secondary education, vocational education, for 3 years. And when we started back in 2022, we received 30,000. Now it's a little bit more for this year. And this requires some sort of 40 hours per school year of teaching about EU subject or topics related to EU, somehow related to like democracy or history, different activities, culture, heritage, these sort of things. And this action is then coordinated by this EACEA. It's a bit different if you apply for that. But yes, we became interested in this Jean Monnet opportunity when I heard about this, as we have a long history with Erasmus and before that Comenius, but this was something new. And 2 of my colleagues became interested in as well. I made the initiative to ask my colleagues that this is available, who would be interested in joining me in the application process. And we started thinking about this. What would our students need? What do we want to do? And then we came up with 3 parts that we'd like to do with our students. So to increase knowledge about EU and its history and heritage, like I said, bring EU closer to our students. sometimes it feels like, okay, yeah, EU, it's somewhere there in Brussels, Strasbourg. It doesn't concern us really here in Vantaa. So bring it closer to them to understand that we are part of this big community called Europe. And in the current climate, when old allies are kind of leaving us, I think it's more important than ever that we feel the need to be part of this big community that we have. So those were the ideas that we wanted to have with our students. And my colleague Matti Jussila, who teaches history and social sciences, he wanted to do a specific EU-based study unit for our students. In Finnish upper secondary schools, we talk about study units that they have, could be history or English. Myself, I teach English. I'm also the international coordinator in my school. But Matti came up with this Our Europe study unit that's open for all our students. And we'll talk about all these different parts in my presentation. Then our drama teacher, Hanna Lekander, became interested. She has a theater group, and they have at least one performance a year before Christmas. But she was kind of thinking of how to use theater as a tool to teach something as well. And then she has this part, theater as a tool for social influence. And then I'm the coordinator of the project, and my part was then to organize different special events and then also incorporate EU ideas in my lessons in English. So those are the three parts in our project. Quite different, but caters for different learners. And I said I'll talk a little bit about the study unit, Our Europe. So Matti had this idea that could us teachers be expert lecturers? And of course they can. They know their subject really well. But he also wanted to invite guest lecturers to our school. So we've had lecturers from the University of Helsinki, for example, visiting us, and I'll show you the spring's talks that we've had. So there are 6 to 8 lectures integrated with different subjects, and then they're open to everyone. Not only for those taking this specific study unit. And they are recorded and put on YouTube, so anyone can watch them later as well. Then they plan a trip to one of the major hubs in the EU. So first year it was Brussels, last year they went to Luxembourg, and it's actually this year they went to Strasbourg for the Euroscola event, and they are also going with, because the group was so big that this year they divided into 2, and they're going also to Brussels later this spring. So that's been also the attraction maybe for some students, that there's a trip abroad involved that partly they have to pay themselves. Then they've taken part in this European Youth Parliament Finland meetings, where they practice decision making, kind of simulation of EU Parliament. And one year they tested these EU-related online games, like EU Craft was one of them. So that is what the study unit kind of consists of. Of course, they also have the lessons or meetings with the lectures. And here are a list of lecture series this spring, so it's been different every year. So we had How Does the EU Work by our very own specialist Matti Jussila. Then we had Risto Marjamaa from University of Helsinki talking about Europe and the legacy of colonialism. Then senior university lecturer talked about EU and populism, a very current topic. Then our religion and psychology teachers, Kaisu and Ninna, talked about what Europe believes in these days. And our geography and biology teacher, Pasi Vilpas, talked about Europe and the environment. And then I think we lastly just had Laura coming to talk about business and lobbying in the EU. So quite interesting topics that I offered kind of a different view for our students about the EU and Europe. And it has also allowed us to cooperate with higher education. So that's something that has been interesting for our students as well when they think about their further studies. The second part is this theatre as a tool for social influence. And Hanna, who is now the expert on this, I'm just rephrasing her, but she's been just wonderful with this project. And she came up with the idea of 3 countries, 3 people, or 3 playwrights, or 3 plays, and then 3 theatrical conventions. And then she uses theatre to explore different themes with the students. And she's using this theatre laboratory to observe and then make it reality. This is the concept that she's using. And the 3 countries then are the Netherlands, Germany, and Italy. And first year, they looked into the diaries of Anne Frank. And very current topics, again, in all of this: survival of the individual, significance of hope, the importance of empathy, understanding the other, and then experiential learning, so learning by doing in a way. Bertolt Brecht's The Irresistible Rise of Arturo Ui. So what made the dictatorship possible before the Second World War? And what can we learn from this? What kind of political tensions are there in Europe right now? And the third one will be then later this spring, Dario Fo's Won't Pay, about inflation and economy, individual in society. This sort of topics. And I must say that we started planning this later, December 21, January, February 22, before the war in Ukraine, before the inflation hit us. Everything. We kind of think that we foresee so all of the things that are happening, and kind of look in astonishment how current our themes have become in Europe at the moment. We are discussing these things that we see in the news every day. So that's the theatre laboratory that I talked about. So the different theatre techniques, it's not only just the themes, but she's also teaching a bit of theatre techniques and drama. They design everything themselves. They plan about a 30-40 minute performance and doing all this costumes, props, design, sound design themselves. And then they perform it in front of the audience at school, 3 performances when we have our European Theme Week in May. And in 2023, they started by reading Anne Frank's diary, and then they selected passage that resonated with them. And they discussed the world in which Anne lived, and kind of explored what the similarities could be in modern day. And then the passages were arranged chronologically and and then explored the content in each of the passage. And then every student took turns being Anne Frank in the performance. And they showed it by using this red book. The performance was so moving, it brought tears to the people's eyes. Our principal is a gentleman in his late 50s, a tough athlete. He was crying. So you can imagine that. It was quite emotional. Last year, they had a look into Resistible Rise of Arturo Ui, maybe not so well-known play, but it's an allegory of Adolf Hitler's rise to power. It shows how dictatorships are created, what is needed, what happens when someone wants to grab power. And I'm afraid that we're seeing the similarities today overseas, what's happening in the States. Some things are very similar to the global situation in the 1930s. This is maybe perhaps a more difficult play for ordinary students to understand because it's an allegory and lots going on. This is Chicago and mafia, the mobs. And so to make the link to Adolf Hitler, they had to a little bit show what this is, what was happening in Germany at the time and now what the mobsters are doing. But later on, I asked my students that I took to see the play and what they understood. And they had grasped, they had understood the main ideas. Like, okay, that there was a trial that was a farce. And they could see it clearly that, okay, this is something that in a dictatorship would happen, that there are no true law, no true trials anymore. It's all a farce. And then we're looking forward to seeing Dario 4 later this spring. And Commedia dell'arte is then the history of comedy and how his work has impacted on society, and farce as a theatrical genre. And again, the students select the scenes, they highlight the chosen perspective and explore theatrical techniques, and we'll see the performances in May. And they've started to work on this now and are then rehearsing. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with and to do with economy, inflation, and things like that. So what is learned through theater, this is Hanna's words. She thinks that interaction, collaboration, negotiation skills are the very important skills needed in the modern day world. They learn perseverance and taking responsibility, because they are collectively responsible for the work. So everyone's actions affect everyone and the final outcome. So they have to be very much involved in what they do. And also courage, pushing oneself beyond limits, encouragement, supporting others, sort of the feeling we did this together. And I think these are quite admirable that if students learn skills like these. And then this is, again, Hanna's words, and I wanted to have this because I think it links so well with the topics of your seminar: engage, inspire, empower, and citizenship education. So theater teaches how to be an active citizen, to understand our role and roots in Europe and the EU, impact of those roots on the present day. It encourages using one's own voice to express opinions, and completing a performance strengthens the individual sense of accomplishment, the feeling of influencing matters through art, and the experience of having your voice heard. Above all, it reinforces the experience of being seen and heard. So that, I think, has been the topic in your seminar, really. And then our third part of the Jean Monnet project is then Europe at school. So we can see it there. In English lessons, I've done these infographics. I'll show quickly what I mean. Sort of key things combined in an infograph. And then, of course, we've had these lessons about EU, just short things in lessons, English and social sciences and history. We've had the Erasmus Days in October to celebrate that program. And then we have a special Europe theme week in May, and when we have the theatre performances. Usually we've had a guest speaker or performance there. And then as we have the Erasmus accreditation and we have a lot of mobilities, then we have a travel fair where everyone who's been abroad will present somehow what they've done on those trips and the collaboration with our partner schools. So that's always also been an important part of the project and the European Theme Week. This I showed. And the impact of our project. All in all, about 80 students have been part of the theatre production and the study unit, different people, different students. But then the whole school have enjoyed the performances and the events. Like for example, last spring, as there was the EU election coming, we had a mock election during the European Theme Week, and they could participate in that. The Studia Generalia lecture series has been open to everyone to see or watched online then. Theatre performance, those have helped students understand EU values and using art as the medium, and they've reflected on European history and our commitment to democracy and human rights. So very important today. So combining these lectures and excursions, theatre, special EU-themed events, I think we have made these complex EU concepts more accessible to our students. And we have enhanced student engagement and understanding of the EU. And that's all from me and our project. Thank you for coming and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Tuija. Do we have any questions? Yeah.
Yes. No, we no.
Yes.
Voluntary, yes.
Yes, I was asking if the university professors, if it was easy to get them to talk to you and if you had to convince them in some way.
No, they were happy to come. Yes, you didn't have to pay for them. So it's been quite interesting to have them.
You mentioned that besides this project, you're also very active in the Erasmus Plus program.
Yes.
Was there any kind of interplay between the Erasmus activities and this particular project from the Jean Monnet program? And if yes, how did that manifest itself?
Yes, they actually we had collaboration with some of our partner schools. So with the theatre performances, they could visit and do some work together. For example, this year they went to Italy to work with a school that does a lot of drama, and they help with the Dario 4. And they visited the Dario 4 Museum and worked together on drama with our partner school. And then they started really the project last fall. Yes?
I was wondering, so with the budget you received from the Jean Monnet Project Fund, what were some expenses that this enabled you to cover? What were the main obstacles you were able to?
Yeah, it's 10,000 a year. So mobilities took most of it. Students going to Brussels or Luxembourg, but they did have to pay some themselves because there wasn't enough. And then as teachers, Matti has received salary for his study unit, and then as well as Hanna. And she gets a bit more because she's done really quite a lot of work with the drama students. And then I get a bit of a modest coordinator's fee. But so the budget is 10,000 a year, and the majority goes to the trip abroad. And yeah, then our school, of course, has supported by the students have paid, and then our school has paid for the teachers' trip, and then all the any things we've been needed for the Europe week, and the school has paid for those.
Thank you for your presentation. I was wondering whether you would like to share any advice for the potential applicants, what to be aware of before applying, what to think of, and what was maybe the most difficult thing for you, and if you have any advice now when you were able to solve these things or went through this. Thank you.
The easy part perhaps was to come up with the ideas and collaborate and kind of write the proposal. The platform itself is the main obstacle. It doesn't work really well. So I think with Erasmus Plus we've used to getting advice from our national agencies, and it's been quite easy. We had to wait like 6 months to get even our school accepted in the platform, and we had to dig into they needed some proof that our school was established, and you can imagine the city of Vantaa, to find something from 1964. It's pretty ridiculous things, and so obstacles. I learned about EU bureaucracy a lot myself. But these obstacles can be overcome, as you can see. And if you want to do this, plan ahead. Start doing it in advance, because it takes time, and then, as I mentioned, the platform isn't the easiest to use, where you make the proposal and all that. So that is perhaps the main thing. The rest has been quite easy.
And I have a question about the project itself, because you have partners from different countries, of course, with the Jean Monnet, isn't it?
No, actually,
no,
we
you don't.
You
Okay.
don't need to have partners. So that's a bit different with Erasmus, that you can just do this in your own school. We've kind of used the Erasmus partners a little bit. But that's not part of the Jean Monnet. You don't need to have partners.
But you can, I suppose.
But you can.
Yes,
yes,
yes, that's it. Okay, thank you.
Just a quick practical question. Does a school need to have an accreditation to implement the project?
No, Jean Monnet is different.
Thank you.
Anyone can apply.
Okay, thank you very much, Tuija, once again.
Thank you.
And
It was a
let me
pleasure.
just a big applause. And now it's time to move to our panel discussion. And I would like to invite our three panelists, so Katja, Evelina, and Julia. And as you will see, we also have another chair, but I will briefly explain about that. So, I'll go one slide back, sorry. As you can see, empty chair. So, given that we should be role models and we should be applying what we are preaching, we would like to have a participatory discussion. So, during the discussion and the questions that we will be having, of course, we will have some slides also for the online audience, but we would like this chair to also be filled by one of you. So whenever you would like, you can come over, you can join the discussion, and then go back, and then perhaps another participant comes to the stage to discuss. And I forgot my clicker. So, if you would like to briefly introduce yourself to the participants.
Okay, I can start. My name is Katja Nieminen, and I have worked as teacher, language teacher in primary school, secondary school, upper secondary school, and now lastly I'm working in a business college as an international coordinator.
Yep, and I'm Evelina, and I'm Katja's colleague. I work in our business college in Mercuria as a teacher, and my main subjects are related to marketing, marketing and social media and digital marketing.
My name is Julia Gracia. I'm a member of the Spanish National Support Organization in eTwinning. I hold a PhD in social sciences. I have an MCS in research in education. I'm also a professional translator, and I've been an eTwinning ambassador and Erasmus Plus coordinator.
Lovely. And now let's see also a brief video from the project Business Ambulance.
First, each school selects 5 students who are divided into international groups. The students learn social media marketing from business experts on eCampus. A local SME company will be selected for each group. During the workshop, groups create a social media marketing campaign for the selected company. After the workshop, students evaluate the results of the social media marketing campaign. We will repeat this 5 times with new students. Each workshop will be held in a different country. We hope that you got a nice taste of what Evelina and Katja have been working, and this actually strengthens a bit also the inclusion of vocational education training also in the event. And they will be relying and describing their experience during the panel discussion. So, quickly setting the scene, we have been talking a lot about citizenship education, and in this context, active citizenship emerged as a theme. And again, as I was
as I mentioned earlier, I'm really famous about the easy questions that I'm asking. So I would like to take a moment and ask you to reflect, how do we actively introduce citizenship with our pupils? And for that, I'm giving you this context between passive and active citizenship with a really, probably, real-life scenario. So imagine a student or a group of students challenging a rule that you have in your school because they believe that this is unfair. And here, what is the case? Will schools encourage that kind of civic engagement, or let's say try to shut it down? Take a moment to reflect. Not what we would like to happen, but what is actually happening. Okay? Does this sound familiar? Yes? Would you Yes, sure. So briefly, name and country.
Thank you. Hi again, I'm Lisa here from Cyprus. I'm a French teacher, and currently in Cyprus there is a discussion on a very specific topic. They have banned mobile phones from schools. So we have our students opposing this, of course, and they've they've created a motion to try and overrule this decision. And as we speak, the student councils from each school, they try to form a case against the banning of the schools. Some schools have shut it down and they said, this is a state decision, you can't do anything about it, and that's it. But in my school, just to get them engaged and teach them about democracy and everything surrounding the processes towards a decision, we know they can't do anything about it because it is a state decision, but we're allowing them to follow through with it to the end so we can get them as engaged as possible.
Really nice, thank you, thank you. If I ask you to, again, an easy question, describe what active citizenship is for you, but by using only one word. If you can scan the code, and also our online audience, they can scan the code, and I'll be also checking. And maybe we can have the results behind me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, participation, engagement, discussion, values, action, empathy, democracy, voice, humanity, dialogue, freedom, awareness. Nice. Responsibility. Lovely. Okay, and now let's see what our panelists think. So here, the first thing that I would like to focus are the school policies and leadership, because also during the previous session, school leadership emerged as a topic, and the school policy, and whether it allows for the integration of topics or about more active learning pedagogies. So what role do you think that the school policies and the leadership of the school play in addressing or fostering active citizenship?
Well, I think the leadership is everything. It's key for the schools to work well. I worked in a primary school, secondary, upper secondary, and so many schools, so I have really seen different kind of ways to work. And like we've already all the time praised the ways we do here in Finland, or Finland this and Finland that, but it's not always the case. We also have a lot of problems in schools because schools vary a lot. And it's all up to the leadership. You have to lead, you have to be a leader. There has to be a good leadership in the school. And where I am now, it's the best school for me because the leaders and the leadership and the management, they encourage the internationalization. It's really, really one of the main focuses in our school and in our school strategies. So I think it's so important how the management takes into account, for example, internationalization. And in our school, they want to enhance everything that has to do with the international activities, visits, international tutors, all kind of civic like engagement. They want to engage students to do different things. So it's all up to the management.
And if we are not that lucky and we don't have a supportive school leadership, then maybe a tip, or what would you propose?
Change schools. No, I mean well, it comes also to the fact that in Finland we can choose the school we go into. Like the teachers apply for the schools, but what I've understood in many ways in Europe that it's not like that. You are actually placed when you are, especially if you're a young teacher. So I think the whole system is something that in Europe we would have to unify somehow the school systems. We all work in our own way, in our own countries, and of course that is important, but at least something so that the leadership would be a little bit more homogeneous, that I don't know, that's what I think. But the tip, except for changing schools, try to find nice nice partners, nice teachers that you can work with, and organize little by little that sort of activities.
And I also think that it's really, really important for us as teachers to show our management the really great results these types of international projects can have on students, and to emphasize the workload it actually needs. But for example, in our business ambulance project, we always, when we were having these final presentations for the companies by the end of the project, we always invited the headmasters and management to come and hear the results, because when they could actually kind of sense the excitement from the students when they are and see the real results we have gotten with just 1 week, I think that they got really excited about this type of project. And when they are excited, they are probably more willing to support these kind of actions in the future as well.
Yes, and spread the knowledge everywhere.
Yeah.
Not to keep it in a small group of people who are working on a project or something, but to spread for everybody what you are doing, and in the teachers' meetings or something. So it's really helping a lot.
So also engagement of the school leaders in the activities. Lovely. And in the previous example or scenario that I described, we see there is always this perceived or sometimes non-perceived power balance. And for that, how can we actually balance the power, the perceived power of the teacher in relation to pupils' autonomy?
I think in that sense, teachers' autonomy, support and structure are essential elements for an effective learning environment, and we know that. And there are several theories in psychology that would study students' behavior, and is geared towards feeling competent, feeling that they belong to the school, their community, feeling that they have a network, and then a sense of autonomy, so that the students need to perceive that. So we know that when students feel in ownership of their own learning, they are engaged. And if we as teachers manage to achieve that, then we know that we are balancing that structure and autonomy. And that's why teachers need to transform progressively, and you only learn that and are able to do that with time and experience, that autonomy, that authority into support to your own students. So we know that integrating democratic processes into day-to-day school life is essential to do that, to achieve that balance. We know that democracy, it's hard to be taught. They always say that it has something that needs to be experienced in schools, and schools are essentials to develop that competence, that citizenship competence, and also to act as examples. How do we do that? Well, we can visit a really good resource. The Council of Europe identify a democratic school network. So you can visit schools that have been identified to develop collective actions and democratic culture. So for example, by doing normally debating things and inviting politicians in the classroom or identifying bias in the media. We also know that school democracy means involving students into the decision making, and we can do that through consultation, through having students as representative in their classrooms or in their schools, also having a presence in governing bodies and expressing their opinion. And that's something that we can all do in our own classrooms. We also have the reference framework of competence for democratic culture. That could be a good resource for teachers to guide us on how to balance this structure. We can be positive, I think, because citizenship is integrated in all curricula nationally at European level. And I would like to highlight also the role of formal but non-formal education as well, mainly on community project. So civic participation, I think, is generally accepted in the example that you put. So when students rebel against a school decision, we had the, for example, Friday for Future movement, where most schools tolerated more or less student striking and used that, as our colleague was just explaining, as an example to deal on how could we allow these civic movements to happen. So for example, in my children's school, it is compulsory that students have a previous meeting. They write a manifesto. The manifesto has to be approved by their teachers, and also parents have to authorize them to do that civic action. So that would be an example of that. But I would also, as we are in an eTwinning event, highlight the role that we can have in eTwinnings to balance that. So for instance, we could be allocating a special role to students to engage them as student administrators. We could also develop projects on that. And I would also like to highlight the role of eTwinning School, as it is part of their mission that they have students as agents of change.
Students as agents of change, and also shared leadership that is connected also with the previous.
And I think the schools need to have, they need to brand themselves. They need to make the good brand of the school, that what are our, what do we want to go forward? What do we want to show for people who apply our school? Of course, it's different in the primary school versus the vocational college, for example. But if you have a good brand, then the students also think that they belong into this brand, this school, this is our value, this is what we do. So that's also balancing, I think, the...
So being seen and being heard, as our keynote speaker said earlier. Thank you. So another slide. Should pupils have a say in how their school is run? Both for the on-site and the online. And I'm going to be checking also the chat of the online audience in case we have input or comments. Yes, they should have real decision-making powers, some input, but final decisions should be made by adults. I will allow some extra time because I see the percentages are changing.
Okay.
competition. Let's see. We have 34 responses. Okay, let's say that there should be real involvement in decision making. Okay, so how do we actually do that? And now from school policies and leadership, if we move to the actual curriculum, indeed in several countries there is no core curriculum or core subject about citizenship. It's mainly introduced in a cross-curricular approach. But if we start from scratch, how would this look like? How would the ideal curriculum look like? And some personal reflections, for instance, are we focusing too much on history and not enough on activism, or too much on laws and not enough on ethics? What do you think? Would anyone like to get on stage?
Well, thank you. My name is Søren Christensen. I come from Denmark, but I'm also involved in a lot of European activities. And to your first question about what should an ideal curriculum look like, I think we have plenty of examples of that, because in most countries you have a dedicated subject called citizenship education. And if you make a sort of comparative analysis of the curriculum for these citizenship education courses or programs, you can sort of see how this concept is perceived in different countries, and it's perceived very differently, of course, and depending also whether you are a school in upper secondary general education, or whether you are a vocational a school in vocational education and training. So I think we do have a fairly good idea of what that could be, acknowledging that it can be different according to context. But I think the real problem we have is that you can't sort of teach citizenship education and the concepts of citizenship education in a dedicated subject and on a school in a school context or sitting at the table. You need to have a concerted approach that involves the whole school, that it needs to be integrated, not in a cross-curricular context, and as also was mentioned, in non-formal activities like, for instance, exchanges and events and other things. So to do that efficiently, you require some kind of school strategy in that particular issue. Just like, I mean, I understood from our colleagues from the Mercury Business School, I don't know whether I'm over-interpreting that, but it sounds as though in your institution you actually have a strategy for how to implement internationalization, and I'm using this in the broad sense of the word, that it's written down and it's something that commits the school and commits management. Absolutely. So that you as a teacher, you know what you can do and also what you can't do.
That's it, and of course there's always money involved. How much is budgeted for the internationalization, but also like this active citizenship. We heard from the first day that in Finland there are schools who work well and those other schools that don't work so well. And there was an example of like if you are working as a school board, students with the school board, and if teachers need to work on that, and that workload is often offered for the young teachers who come to school instead of the old senior ones. And why is that? We can all think of the first day when we come back from the holidays and we are gathering in the school and we are distributing the extracurricular responsibilities for each teacher. And there are a lot of them, and nothing is taken away from the main or the things that you need to do in the classroom. So it's not something that people often want to do, not because it's not interesting. Of course it's interesting, but you already know that you will be so overloaded with your work, with the normal stuff, what we discuss here as well, that sometimes it's just too much. So you have to put it in your strategy. You have to make it so appealing that everybody wants to do it. I don't want to teach mathematics or French anymore. I want to do the civic engagement. I want to do all the fun stuff with the students and get them involved in things. But if that is always on top of everything, it's not appealing. It has to be put in the strategy.
Covered?
Okay, thank you. Just one final thing. I mean, there is this issue of the whole school approach that's often mentioned in connection with citizenship education and sort of involvement with that, the whole issue, not just as a subject. And I think that's a very important concept that we need to take into account. And especially in the context of vocational education and training, we also need to think the enterprises into the equation, because they're very important also, especially in countries with apprenticeship systems, where learners, students, they often spend only sort of 25% of their time in the school and 75% in the enterprise during their program. So that should also be something that we need to think about.
Thank you very much. Indeed, work-based learning is also an important resource. And as you mentioned, most of the time is being spent there. Okay, so now concerning the first question, there was also during the first session about the networking, there was a reference about volunteering and activism, if I'm not mistaken. So should, for instance, as an example, real-life activism be a part of citizenship education? We've seen also in workshops, and I think it was Nina's on the first day, some examples.
I think that real-life activism, as we know, is an integral part of active citizenship. We all know examples, probably nationally. If you are not very aware on how to integrate it into your school practices, the Council of Europe also has fantastic resources. So we have the European Youth Portal, the European Youth Forum. We also have the Activist Network and Advocacy Handbook. So those are all useful resources for teachers to learn how to integrate these real activism into our schools. We also have to look at what the latest Eurodice report on citizenship education said to us, because it put a lot of focus on coexistence. So having a positive coexistence in a school is probably one of the closest way for students to get involved and being active in their school life about things that really matter to them. Students, we need to develop and make sure that we equip students with competencies. So in the sense of topics, rather than focusing on integrating topics in the curriculum, we are developing competencies and skills. So some of them would be to work on how to interact effectively between one another, how to think critically, how to act in a socially responsible way, and also how to act democratically. So those would be examples that would help our students to become activists in their future. But we need to look at the students, especially in secondary and IVET education, as current citizens responsible who are taking an active role. And in that sense, it's also extremely important to instill a sense of hope on them. Because sometimes we talk about all the complexity of our times. We live in a time of conflict and a climate emergency. We've just passed a pandemic. And I think that students have been exemplary with the responsibility. And we need to instill that sense of hope on them, that they can change and only work to do things better. And we can only do that from a holistic and integral approach in our teaching. So rather than thinking on topics, subjects, think on how much as teacher can we contribute to the development of that person as a citizen. So from a curricular point of view, we have to make sure that we have to integrate practical experiences. So inside and I insist outside a school. And in that sense, the pedagogical approach, service learning, is extremely useful because we are also working with the closest community at a local level. We also have the volunteering, advocacy, signing petitions, writing a letter to the principals would be clear examples. I would also like to highlight the role that we as teachers have. So if acting as role models, so if the students see on ourselves that we care about school life and take an active role, then that activism is always going to be transferred of them. And probably through eTwinning, because we can develop projects on these topics to make them real activists. We can invite them to participate on the code of conduct. And we can also take part in the professional development activities that you offer and that are obviously helping us to integrate real-life activism in our lives.
Really interesting, and indeed, I think that sometimes we focus too much on challenges and negative aspects, but sometimes we should also consider the optimistic and focus also on what we perceive sometimes as normal and as a reality, that it's not a given. So we can also focus on things that we currently enjoy and certain freedoms and rights. So it's also part of citizenship. Are you aware of service learning, what Julia mentioned, as a pedagogical approach? It's a way of a community service learning where students also give back to the community. And in eTwinning, we had several, especially vocational projects, where students, for instance, attending cooking, for instance, courses, they cooked meals for homeless people, so it was a really tangible, real-life experience for them by studying, by collaborating with each other, exchanging recipes through TwinSpace, and then making those meals and then offering those meals to homeless people in their own regions and communities. So I think it's a really interesting approach. And what about the second question about digital citizenship? On the first day, I think Daria mentioned that a lot, addressed it in her keynote. Do we currently, do you think that do we sufficiently address digital citizenship? You mentioned, Julia, code of conduct, but
I think that it is addressed, but it's not. It could be addressed even more. Young people there are spending a lot of their time online, and the way young people are engaging in the society, it often, whether it's through politics or activism, it often happens online. And if we as a teacher fail to teach them like how to navigate this space responsibly and safety, I think we are leaving them unprepared for this digital citizenship. So we have heard great examples here, like what we should teach. For example, we should teach them recognize misinformation, how to use sources reliably, and how to engage in online discussions in a respectful way. And I think that in our project in Business Ambulance, that was a great example of that. The students, they didn't just learn how to receive the messages and how to read the messages. They actually had to create messages for the real companies. So they got hands-on experience about how to create messages that are clear, that are honest, that are fair, and that can actually have an effect on people.
Mm-hmm. They, for example, they came up with an idea of making a social media campaign for one gardening company. They were wondering, how can we sell products for people who live in the city? And the students came up with a campaign that,
okay, let's make this bee-friendly plants. That let's make an advert that if you buy this and this sort of plant, it helps the bees to become more and more visible in a city life, and it helps with the environment and everything. And it was a wonderful idea, and they gathered these really nice bouquets of bee-friendly plants. So they felt that they were involved, and they got like really hands-on experience on that.
Lovely, thank you. And we have a new panelist.
Yes, hello. So my name is Tuuli, and I'm a Finnish teacher. I teach sustainable development at a vocational school, and I'm an online teacher. So this is a topic that I'm very interested in. And in my courses, of course, sustainable development is very, very broad concept, and it also includes, of course, citizenships, especially in the social sphere of sustainable development. And in my courses, I have involved a lot of ways to empower the students to take action in their own lives, to try to influence their friends, their social circle, and then go beyond that. So I have created, for example, assignments to create memes in the topics of sustainable development, climate change, all kinds of things that youngs today feel very strongly about. So they can try to create these and perhaps use these skills in the future as well, because of course we know young people are working these kinds of, for example, memes in the social media quite a lot, and how to create them, how to incorporate them into their own discussions in the media, I think is very important. So that's one example that I'm using. I'm also using anti-commercials. I think that's a quite big thing also going on in the media, and different kinds of ways to influence your local policies, but also in the broader sense. So you can start in the grassroots level and then build on that and have a presence in the online activities, but then beyond that also, and get these experiences already during your studies, and then you can build on that.
Really interesting point, and I totally agree, because sometimes I think that we do focus on digital citizenship as being something separate and isolated from our offline, let's say, world and behavior, and drawing the links between the two, yeah, I think it's really important and more actually experiential, and they can perceive the effect of the online practices and how they sometimes blur the limits between the offline, the real life world, and the online world. Thank you very much. And let's move with another slide, though. Which of these topics that you will see should be prioritized in citizenship education according to your view? We have almost 30 responses. Okay, so we see digital citizenship and fighting misinformation, activism and sustainability, community service and real-world action, debating controversial issues, and understanding political institutions. 44. Okay, we seem to be in line, at least in the discussion that we have. And if we look forward now towards, let's say, the future, and again consider these in terms of themes and issues that we have already discussed, either in the workshops or with the keynote speakers, with increasing political polarization, not just online, but also in real life, in offline settings, misinformation, the increasing, actually, spread of fake news, declining voter turnout, it was mentioned as well. How optimistic eventually are we, and how can we truly prepare the future citizens? And with these constant, let's say, changes and challenges all around, schools and teachers, we are always in need of, okay, we need to rush and we need to catch up on so many things, and we have the basic aspects of our teaching and correcting assignments and creating resources and activities and projects and this and that, but can we catch up in that sense? And for this, as the title, is it an even or an uneven race? And how can we eventually, where do we position ourselves? And for that, my first question to our panelists is whether schools can actually compete with all these constant change and the social media platforms and the influences, not just on the political views, but in shaping students' identities in more general?
Yeah, I think we can't really compete with them, and instead we should teach them how to use social media responsibly and how it works, really. And so I think we should include social media analysis in digital citizenship education more. Not only just to how to recognize misinformation and how to find reliable sources, but actually also learn how to break down viral trends and their motivations, how to identify emotional manipulation behind the social media post. For example, how is fear or feel of urgency or heroes or stories used to get our attention, and as well as teach them to know how the social media algorithms as well as social media influencers are used to shaping their view on society. So I don't think we should kind of ban social media or compete with that. I think we should encourage them to use these channels as an active citizens. I think that Tuuli has a great example from that just now, and to understand it better.
Any thought?
And about the future skills, or yes.
First, about the first question, do we have any comments? Yes.
Hello. I think we have to be optimistic. In the slide before, you said, how do we feel about how optimistic are we? I think every teacher has a certain dose of optimism, on of never giving up and always trying and believing that they can make a change, and ultimately their students can make a change. So are we adapting fast enough? I think we're trying to. We're trying to, but it's a constant battle, I think. Are we learning enough so that we can teach our students how to critically look at social media and assess what is true and what isn't? Because very young students just believe everything that is on the internet. They think that is the truth. So how do we do that? Because I teach mathematics, we actually did a project about how can you trust Instagram. So the children had to find tips and tricks on Instagram to teach them how to understand mathematical concepts, and some of them were completely wrong. So this was the key. Find tips and tricks on Instagram that tell you how to do something better than your teacher. Are they right? Are they wrong? Could you maybe make a better tip and trick? And then could you disclaim the actual information that you found as being mathematically incorrect? So it's just a constant comparison of what is right, what is wrong. Don't believe clickbait. Don't believe every single title you see. And just get the children involved in seeing how easy it is to misinform.
But
other
isn't
children.
it that they learned it so quickly that even I think that my children are now teaching me, Mom, that picture is not real.
Yes, yes, yes.
How do you know that it's not real? Well, you can see it right away, it's not real.
Yeah, but get them to actually try and make an AI picture of something that looks completely real, and then the more you involve them, the easier it is for them to show you. So I'm always learning from my students. It's always a two-way street. It's always teaching and learning both ways. So
definitely,
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think when they recognize by doing like this that not all the Instagram posts are true, they are not correct, or when they learn about like, okay, this type of a social media, how like the structure of these videos, like they are using this fear or this kind of hook. When they know it and break it down, it's easier for them to kind of start critically analyze their feed. Like, okay, this might not be correct. This might not be that. This is one way of them trying to influence us. And when they know these tricks, it's easier for them to try to critically analyze their own feeds.
I would also like to highlight the contribution of the European Commission with the guidelines that they have published on the use of, for instance, AI, and how they contributed to digital literacy on the students, but also on the contribution that eTwinning has had. And just remember that in 2021 we had a huge campaign on disinformation, and there's a lot of resources, projects, and communication that we can use. And it's extremely useful to be integrated into our projects.
Indeed, and I think also it was mentioned again on the first day, if I'm not mistaken, about intergenerational learning, and I think also Anita's, but also your contribution, Katja, is somehow directed in that way, like more experienced in, I don't know, a discipline or a certain task. It could be about digital literacy and how youngsters can, or more, let's say, youth or students can show us and we can learn from them. But
young people can also teach the grandparents who order all kind of stuff online which never arrives, or they are being tricked by all kinds of yes. So, and I think young people are really skeptical, and they are aware of that much more than we are, or the people next generation, or the generation before.
And I just have to say, like, the whole idea of Business Ambulance, the project that we had, was built on that thought, that the young people are already good at social media. So let's let them teach the companies how to do this, how they are viewing social media, because they are the experts. Of course, we give them marketing experts like as a theory, but then the students were the one who were teaching us teachers as well, but the companies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. And about the second question, I think pretty much we covered also that one about future skills. And one last slide, whether today's pupils will be better future citizens than previous generations. Again, an easy question, I know. And here, I think it would be more interesting to take your time and reflect and answer what do you believe, not what do you wish or you would like. Because eventually, in our classrooms and contexts, we are faced with reality. Of course, the end goal and the wish is the optimistic way, but let's see. I'm not sure. No, they are overwhelmed. Okay, changed. Ooh, let's wait. of course, it's a really broad term and concept, or how we define a better citizen, but I think we are somehow in line. Okay, so the first one, I'm not sure. The second one, yes, they are more informed and engaged. And the third one, no, they are overwhelmed and disengaged. Any thoughts on this?
Well, there are teachers, we have hope.
I think that one of the things that Nina said on the first presentations on the first day was that at least in Finland, the interest in politics has increased among young people. So that's really a good thing that they are now more and more interested about these topics. But the downside is that they are less keen on actively participating themselves. So us as teachers, I think it's our responsibility to teach these skills. So it's not only about the willingness to participate, it's about the skills, and all of these eTwinning project has given us great examples about how we can make sure that we would be more optimistic about it.
I think, as I mentioned before, that students nowadays have proven resilience, which is a necessary skill to be able to confront coming challenges that have been unplanned, like the pandemic and the climate change emergency. And with these activism examples, they have proven to be much more responsible generation than we are. And yeah, I think that trends are cyclical, so they can be changed, and we have a huge contribution and influence towards that. So yeah, I would like to think that they would have more opportunities to be better equipped than previous generations.
Great. Thank you very much. I think really interesting. We received really interesting input, and I hope that we are a bit more, I don't know, not just aware, because as you said, awareness is the first step, but then it's the actual engagement that we need also to make sure that we take that step and we translate all the knowledge and the discussions that we are having into more concrete actions. So thank you very much, and thank you also to our attendees and the online audience. And I think a big applause to our panelists would be nice. And now, let me move this one. Now I would like to ask you for your final scanning of a QR code to scan this QR. I hope it's visible enough. And this will open an evaluation survey, and we would like you to let us know what you think of the event. It's a short one. be honest, don't worry, it's anonymous. So we need feedback for feed forward. Okay, completed. Yeah. So I would like now to invite Mathilde from the European Commission for the closing of the event.
So, hi everyone. I had the pleasure to open this conference. I have the pleasure to close it. So I hope you really enjoyed your time here in the Helsinki. For the online audience as well. For me, it was very interesting. It's always interesting to meet you, to meet educators, to meet practitioners. As I said during my opening speech, it's always good, like we are in our offices, so we have a big gap, we know, between the policy and the practice. So it's always, as my colleague Daya said as well, a good reality check for us to meet you and discuss what we do and to hear what you are doing on the field. So I would like to quickly
mention the action plan on basic skills that I mentioned as well during the first day of the event. Many of you asked me that I try to find it online. Here it is with another QR code. I think it's the last one of the day, on my side at least, the first and last. But if you want to have a look, it's I think it's 10 pages, so it's doable. And it's everything that we've really put on this big package that we launched on the 5th of March under the Union of Skills. And so just also to give you a better overview of what we say with basic skills. So we have a new set, a wider notion of basic skills. So it's not anymore literacy, mathematics, science. We added digital, and we are very proud of it. Citizenship education is here. So because we heard you as well, like it shouldn't be on top of everything. It shouldn't be also only cross-curricular or even not cross-curricular. It should be a topic in itself. It should be taught as such, and teachers should be trained for it. So we do hear you. We do work on it. And some of you ask me, like, what's in it for you to be here at such events, for example? Because so the Commission, of course, is doing, we hope, many things to help teachers to hear about your experience and to try also to give visibility to what's important. Citizenship education, it's not to you that I have to say it's important. It's an important topic. Above all, with what's happening nowadays, and I will not come back on this because we are all optimistic. As we say, we have a good future ahead with children that will be equipped with the good skills, I hope, thanks to you. And so quickly, the communication section to support educators. So what we have, of course, we have our program, our Erasmus Plus programs that finance eTwinning. That's why you are here today. The Jean Monnet actions. During the workshops done by Nicole, we could see also many other resources that not only the Commission is providing, the Council, the European Parliament. Please look into it. We have many, many, many resources that are already there for you, also to equip you to learn citizenship education in your classroom, to bring your children to Brussels. At DG EAC, so DG Education and Culture, we are always ready to welcome you, to welcome your classroom, give a short lecture. You can go to the Parliamentarium to do mock exercise on how democracy in action is. So we have a lot of offers, so please have a look. On the policy side, we have the EU working groups. For those who attended the workshop with Daria, we mentioned it. So basically, it's representative from ministries of education and stakeholder organizations across the EU that meets regularly to examine specific and specific policies, discuss between each other, share challenges, and also best practices on how to enhance for example, topics like citizenship education. They provide guidance documents for policymakers. So it is our role to speak to them. As we also said, it's not a EU competence education, so we cannot impose our rules to ministries. But we can really group them together, make them meet, discuss of what's important, and share the practices. What we have also is the Erasmus Plus Teacher Academies. I think Nikos mentioned it as well on day one. So it's also funded by the program. So it's EU partnerships to promote cooperation between teacher education institutions and training providers. So they encourage multilingualism, language awareness, cultural diversity. I think we have 5 priorities for the new teacher academies. Right now we are funding, I think, 43 EU teacher academies, and we are bringing them to the European School Education Platform. We are piloting a community of practice also to make them find synergies with eTwinning for future teachers, because we discuss also with many of you, like eTwinning should be already embedded into teacher education, and we really think that it is a good way to do so. So that's about Erasmus Plus Teacher Academies. And what is ongoing, my colleagues in my unit are working on the EU Teachers and Trainers agenda. It will be out in 2026. It will be also part of the Union of Skills, so it has been already announced. And of course, it's to focus on improving educators, working conditions, training, career prospects, including early childhood education and care. And it's aiming to break the vicious circle of low attractiveness and sustainability of careers. Many of you mentioned the shortages of teachers, we know, the decrease of the attractiveness of the profession, and to have good teacher as well in place. So we are, believe me, we are working on it. What I wanted to tell you, on my side, I really like the panel discussion among everything that has been said. What stays with me is also an intervention from a teacher, I don't remember whom, who really addressed the whole school approach, that we are now talking about a whole community approach. It's something that we've been also working on and promoting through a recommendation on Pathway to School Success. We should all work together. Like, it's not the teacher on their own, it's everybody. And I realized that I forgot to introduce myself on day one, so it's never late. I'm taking the last minute to introduce myself. I'm working for DG Education and Culture as Daya, my colleague. I'm part of a team where we are coordinating, actually managing the European School Education Platform and eTwinning. We hear you, teachers, that the platform could be let's say, more user-friendly, easier to access, to upload documents. We are really behind, and that's my colleagues. So on behalf of them, I really want to thank you all. I'm taking a lot with me to them as well, and yeah, thank you. I would like also to thank you, of course, the Central Support Service for this amazing event, the AV team that is here. And of course, the National Sport Organization of Finland, and I will give the mic to Olga to close the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mathilde, and thank you for being here. Thank you for coming. I'm Olga Lappi from the Finnish National Support Service of eTwinning. And I just wanted to thank, I think I can speak for my colleagues in the National Agency for Education, and I also can speak for the teachers from Finland who have been taking a part, that we want to thank you for being here, that you took valuable time and came here. It seems to me that it truly was engaging, and a lot of people got very inspired, I hope. And I hope that you feel empowered and you got a lot to bring home. But thank you. We loved having you here. And I hope that you get to enjoy the sunshine a little bit. It's very special for this time of the year.
Thank you, Olga. And it's not the close yet, because we have a small surprise that our colleagues have prepared for you. The video? Okay, so yes, okay. Yeah, now Yeah, we had a bit of a connection issue. So we would like also to thank the online audience. So we hope that you have enjoyed the sessions and the keynotes and the workshops that you have attended. And maybe see you in the next on-site event or online event. And yeah, have a nice day. Thank you.